A fresh, progressive, cinematic rock vibration, and one of the most new and exciting rock acts coming from New Zealand in recent years. And the Kiwi rockers that have been setting the world ablaze all the way from New Zealand, I have with me here. Who do I have with me here?
My name is Mikey. I am the lead singer for Written by Wolves, all the way from New Zealand, sitting down at the bottom of the world right now.
So all the way down there from the band Written by Wolves.
That's it. That's the one.
How, why, and when did you become a band? Like, where does the name Written by Wolves originate from? What does it mean?
Look, so this band, we kind of kicked off, I suppose, almost 10 years ago now. Like our first, when I say almost, like we're really closing in on that. So our first track dropped in May of 2015. So it was a group of friends that we'd all known for a long time, but we'd all been in different bands, and all people that I'd wanted to play with before or be in bands with, but timing had never really worked out. And we got to a point where everyone's bands had kind of finished up for whatever reason, and it's not easy to kind of start a new band. Like it's a thing that's sort of it sort of takes hold of your life and your existence, and it kind of, when you start putting the work into it, it kind of it takes over everything.
It's an investment.
Yeah, that's right, and it's an expensive business, but we kind of got on the same page and got really excited about the ideas of what we wanted to try and create, and we basically decided, because it's such a big deal to start another band, we're like, look, if we're doing this, we're going to do something that none of us have ever done before. We're going to try and sort of take all of these elements from music that we love and see if we can kind of smash it into one sound and see how that kind of works. And the more we kind of got into it, the more excited we got, and that's how Written by Wolves was born. The name itself is a strange one. Like, no one really quite remembers exactly how it happened, but as I'm the one telling the story, I get to basically decide what how it all came about. But from my memory, we were sitting in Dave, our guitarist's studio at home, his home studio, and he's got these little dogs. They're beautiful. They kind of look like little mini wolves. And one walked into the studio while we were kind of having a break and jumped up on the chair and looked like they were about to kind of take control of the session and start writing. And I think someone jokingly said Written by Wolves, and that kind of stuck. And we liked what it sounded like. We liked what it meant. We liked when we really thought about and broke that down and how that kind of all played out. We got a vibe, and that was it. We just kept on rolling.
Well, that sounds like quite the origin story. I always love a good origin story myself. And here on the Dr. T Show, we love exclusives. And that's it. What's a Dr. T exclusive?
Dr. T exclusive.
Now that is covered, I'm also a man who appreciates a good cover. And the one that first caught my attention to you was your cover of Sia's Elastic Heart. What made you choose this song to cover?
I think for us, it felt like it fitted with what we wanted to talk about. It's kind of, when we look for a cover, it's often, the vibe that we feel like we can take it down, but also, I suppose, like the message and the lyrical content. Is it going to fit within our own catalog? Is it going to fit with, the message that we're kind of trying to portray and send out? And that one just it's got such a strong message and such a strong vibe. We knew that we would vibe with it. We knew that our fans would vibe with it. And we love Sia. Like, she's such an epic artist and such an epic songwriter. And it just kind of worked. I mean, if we'd started trying to cover it and it didn't work, we wouldn't have kind of flogged the dead horse, I suppose. But it just worked so naturally and seamlessly, and it kind of now
got big.
Feels like one of our songs, like it feels like something. I wish we'd written it, but I'm really glad that she did.
Has she heard it? Like, has she ever replied to you guys?
Not that I'm aware of, but you know,
Yeah.
maybe we need to start like a social media campaign to make sure here's our version.
I am inducting myself into that campaign. Sia, hey Sia, listen to this.
That's it. Everyone yell as loud as they can.
Is that the only cover that you've kind of made your own? Is there any others out there that you
we've done a few different versions. So we've released a version of as like a tribute to Chester. We released a version of Paper Cut by Linkin Park. So we've got that one floating around. That's a kind of a stalwart in our live set as well. But that we have released a recorded version of that as well. We also, like years ago, as part of something that we called the Secret Sessions, which was like kind of stripped back, reimagined versions of some of our tracks. We did a version of Young and Beautiful by Lana Del Rey as well. But we've got lots of like we like live covers, so there's lots of live recordings floating around the internet of us doing all sorts of sort of crazy stuff and medleys and mashups and things like that. So look, we do love a good cover, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. All right, that's a wrap for covers. Now let's talk your music. You dropped 2 albums last year. Please Just Breathe and The Lighthouse, I believe.
Yeah, so I mean Spotify's kind of that's a tricky one. I mean, so it's not meant to be that it's 2 albums, but so the way that we tried to release The Lighthouse is that we wanted to release almost the entire album as singles. Like that was our plan, and our idea was to kind of, we looked at the way that our last album Secrets went and the way that our fans kind of connect with our music, and thought, let's try and make every song have, or as many songs as possible, have its moment in the sun, like its moment in which it's the most visible to our fans, so everyone gets a chance to hear it. That way we could make music videos for almost all of the songs, we could do all these things. So we did what's called the waterfall, the release system. So you slowly sort of, each track comes out and it attaches to the last track and keeps going. But the problem is we did so many singles that by the time we got to releasing Please Just Breathe, Spotify was recognizing it as an album. So now it just looks like we've got, you know, we released 2 albums of the same music on it last year. So the album itself is The Lighthouse, but Spotify's decided that we released 2 last year. But hey, we worked hard.
Whoops, my bad. I got some bad information on that one.
No, that is all. But it's, you know, that's Spotify's lead you down the garden path there, mate.
Yeah. All right. So now that we covered the past, let's circle back around to the future. I do got to know, and I want to know, what does 2025 got in store for you, for us? Is there any tours, any more releases that we can talk about?
Look, 2025 is a very exciting year for us, I think. Obviously, we released The Lighthouse last year. We finally got that out. That was a real sort of like a 2-year kind of process of releasing that album and all of the singles and recording the videos. And it was kind of, we toured a lot. We did Australia a couple of times last year. We did Europe towards the end of the year before. And so I think by the time we got that album out, we were like, all right, it's kind of nice time to kind of take a bit of a breather. But it also means that this year we're really excited about starting to release again now. Like we've had a kind of moment. We're still really, you know, we got to kind of really love the fact that we got the Lighthouse out and the way that we did that. And now it's kind of time. We're just working away quietly at all of the next era and everything that's coming next. I won't like give away too many secrets, but there will be a release coming. Very shortly. Really, it's just kind of that's being finalized right now. We're kind of in the final stages of it and working on the next releases that are going to follow that right now, and putting all those plans in place. It will.
Give me something.
How do I kind of put this in a way that's not overly obvious? It's going to be. So it's going to be released under a banner in a way of something that we've actually done before. This is going to be kind of part 2 of something that we have done before, and it will be a new exciting version of something that has happened before, something that we have done before, but a really cool new reinvention of that.
She got my heartbeat out of control. She had me at a low and set my world to blow. So baby, light it up and let it go.
you heard it. You heard it here, right here on the Dr. T show. I squeezed some juice out of there.
Yeah, you squeeze some juice. Squeeze some juice.
I did want to talk about your on stageness, and I wanted to ask, who have you shared the stage with recently? Any notable names that you want to name drop, or what are some names that you're going to share with in the future as well?
Oh man, we've been so lucky to play with so many incredible bands over the time. And we did some great tours last year with some amazing bands in Australia, and got to play with amazing bands like Alt and Patient 67 and all sorts of incredible bands through Australia, and amazing Australian bands. We got to share the stage with a whole heap of incredible European and UK bands while we were over there, and we've been really lucky. We've had like a bit of a rough run. New Zealand is a small country, right? And we're down the bottom of the world, and there's only 5 million people in our entire country, and so we often get these big tours that decide they're going to come, and then at the last minute they either pull out or ticket sales don't go the way that they're meant to go, and things change. So we've actually had a really rough run of shows so far in 2025. We've been booked to play 2 pretty massive shows. We were booked to play a festival in New Zealand with bands like Alien Ant Farm and Drowning Pool, and that fell over because of ticket sales. No. And then we were meant to play. We were meant to open just a few weeks ago, actually, for A Day to Remember and Hatebreed. And then that, because of ticket sales, changed as well. So we've had a rough run. We're kind of 2 strikes at the moment for 2025. So we're really hoping that some sort of absolutely epic wild show is going to come out of the universe and make it all feel all right and make it all okay for us. Because we need some love. We need some live loving right now, because we've had the rug pulled out from underneath us twice so far this year.
Well, maybe you guys need to travel upwards to Canada here. Come on by Toronto.
Look, I tell you what, man, Canada is so high on my list. I cannot wait to get there. Like, it's kind of, it is so intensely within our plans that we're working hard behind the scenes to make that happen. But I promise you, we will get to you one day soon, and it's going to be absolutely beautiful and amazing. And we're going to get to hang out in real life, and we're going to get to play shows, and it is going to be amazing and fun. You know, there's so many incredible bands out there, and there's so many bands that I grew up with. Like, last year I got to see Incubus play, which was such an amazing, I actually got to drive them around. A friend of mine was the promoter, and I ended up picking them up from the airport, which was I had this horrible full-blown fanboy moment where I didn't really know what to say and what to do. And so I'll give you a Dr. T exclusive. I've never shared this yarn before, but so I got to the airport to pick up Incubus, right? And I'd picked up this van, and it was super early in the morning, and I got there, and the tour manager calls me, and I'm sitting there, and I got there way too early, and they're taking forever to come out, and I'm sitting there waiting, and I'm so excited. I'm really nervous because I grew up just loving Incubus. That was Brandon Boyd I just thought he was a god. And so I'm sitting in the van, and the tour manager calls me, and he's like, "Oh, why don't you pull up to this bus stop up here at the airport?" And I was like, "Okay, man." And I pull up in this giant van into the bus stop, and I'm meeting the band for the first time. I'm just about to say hi for the first time, and I'm so excited. I've been so nervous, and a bus pulls up behind me and just sits on the horn and just honks at me. So my first ever meeting with Incubus, when I was picking them up, was just a bus just driving up and just full-blown road rage, just slamming on the horn. And so I couldn't hear anything. I just had to rush them into the van, chuck all their stuff in the boot, and close it and get the hell out before the bus just sat there and absolutely blew the horn at me. So that was my really cool first meeting with Incubus, when I got to drive them around last year when they came to New Zealand.
You know, I recently got back from Universal Studios out in Orlando there, and they now have a ride for everything. Everything. Which movie or franchise would you want to see made into a roller coaster or a ride? Let's say Mad Max, The Predator, The Breaker Uppers. What do you got for me?
This is a good question. Which movie do I want to see made into a ride, or like franchise or anything? Like,
No, that's not already.
do you know what? Have you ever watched like I don't know like what it would be like as a ride, but have you ever watched the movie Across the Universe, which is like
With
it's
with
a Beatles movie.
Yeah,
So it's all Beatles songs, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time.
I've listened to that soundtrack on repeat. I still listen to that soundtrack. Bono's singing "I Am the Walrus."
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely wild, so beautiful. Like that version of "While My Guitar Gently Weeps," like just phenomenal. Like, and I don't know how it would go as a ride. Like, it wouldn't be like a really wild ride or anything like that, but I can imagine it would be like a bit of an acid trip. Like, you just have all these wild colors and flashes and like crazy. Like, "I Am the Walrus," like that whole scene of "I Am the Walrus." Imagine that as a ride. I can imagine you would get off feeling like, what just happened to me? Like, and it wouldn't be like fast, or maybe it would be fast and crazy. I don't know.
And in
maybe
3D.
I've just come. Yeah, maybe I've come up with the dumbest idea ever, but I love the movie Across the Universe with all of my heart and soul. So let's turn it into a ride.
Okay, all right. Stay tuned for what Written by Wolves has coming up for us. But in the meantime, listen to all their bangers on Spotify and all major music platforms. Follow and subscribe to them on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at Written by Wolves. And don't you forget that TikTok now at Written by Wolves Official. Lastly, find tour dates and buy their merch at www.writtenbywolves.com. Actually, lastly,
Hey, this is Mikey from Written by Wolves, and we are howling from down under on the Dr. T Show.
Ow! Yeah!
Woo!